Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on Charlie. Today, hopefully guys, today is going all well. In today's video, guys, I'm bringing you guys an updated version of a video I made a while back about botting, how to get into it, all the ins and outs, the negatives and positives, what you need to actually get into it successfully and to be successful at doing it. I'm going to share all my tips, everything I know about the whole scene, and obviously I made that video a very long time ago, so my knowledge has grown. Obviously I took loads of L's, loads of W's since then, so obviously my knowledge has advanced. So I want to try to give you guys the best amount of knowledge I can. So this video may be long, but I promise you, if you guys are wanting to get into it, this video will answer like literally 90% of your questions. If you have any more questions, my Discord is always linked down below, so you guys can go ahead and DM me at any time, send me your friend request, I will accept it, and you can ask any questions you guys still have after the video. So I'm going to try to do this in one cut just so you guys can follow it the best. Jumping straight into it, I'm going to go through Supreme, Shopify, and then Adidas. Those are the three main sectors of this video. I'm going to explain to you guys how to do it. Now, before you even get into botting, a couple of questions you guys have to ask yourself. Do you have time? Now, when I say do you have time during the week or on the weekend to go for certain drops at certain times? Because botting is one of those things where you'll have multiple sites dropping, and if you're not there, personally I would say being there for a drop is a lot more reliable than setting a timer on a bot and going for it, just because of the fact that if something changes, you can change it whilst you're going for it. It's just better that way, and you have a lot more success that way. So you need to ask yourself, do you have time to do it? And if you can make time, what days are you free? Because then obviously you would go for the drops on those days. The second thing, how much money do you want to put into this? Okay, personally I would give you guys a couple of tips regarding money and investing inside botting. So essentially, you obviously want to buy a bot with quite good success. Obviously that will come at a price depending on what you're going for and depending on how many copies in circulation in the market. Some bots are good but have loads of copies, so they're cheaper, and some bots are good and don't have a lot of copies, so they're quite expensive. So that's one thing. And also, if let's say you're gonna invest £1,000 at the beginning, obviously that's quite a bit, but let's say you invest £1,000, you buy a bot for 500 and you have 500 left to run, and I would name that as your capital money. And what I mean by that is, let's say you buy an Adidas bot for £500 and then you have £500 to use towards the drops with the bot. So obviously with the bot you'd buy proxies, and then you have the rest of the money to essentially buy products with the bot and then sell them to make more money, because you don't want to invest 80% of your money into a bot and not enough money to go for multiple products, because the only successful way to make a lot of money is to go for multiples. Once you have a budget set and you guys know what you guys want to do, you guys want to go into the description and click the Discord link, which takes you to the Tidal Marketplace. This is a marketplace to sell bots. If you want to buy bots, you want to sell bots, or you want to rent out bots, you guys can do it here. There's loads of reviews on there by current users, not by the staff members, so it isn't biased at all. It's literally by you guys. So you go on there, you look at the bots, you look at the prices, you negotiate with sellers, and you try to get your bot. Once you have your bot, make sure you have that capital money on the side. Once you get your bot, you need to learn how to set up. Most bots have guides and YouTube videos. If you guys get any bots that are popular like Soul, Cyber, Adept, anything like that, I have videos on my channel, and you can always DM me. I can help you the best that I can, because I know quite a lot about those type of bots. So once you've got your bot, you've bought your bot through a middleman, that's fine. That's step one of the process. Step two is to put your capital aside, so the money you're going to use for buying the products. Now step three is going about making your bot the most efficient it can. Now with a bot, most commonly you have the Gmails that you use with the bot, and you have your proxy that you use with the bot. You guys might be wondering, why do you need Gmails with a bot? Essentially, most sites these days have this thing called a CAPTCHA. Now CAPTCHA verifies that you're human. If you've ever been on a site and you've had to click where it says cars with those pictures, that is what a CAPTCHA is, just to verify that you're human, that you're not a bot. So essentially, the way you bypass that, or where you get more one clicks where you don't have to solve any type of puzzle, is by generating more human activity on your Gmail. So let's say you use your computer quite a lot and you do emails, you do YouTube, you go on sites, you do shopping, then you might not have seen that quite a lot, just because of the fact that you've created activity on that Gmail. So let's say you make a brand new Gmail and it's made this year, then obviously you would run into quite a lot of CAPTCHAs, just because of the fact that it's new and it's not a lot of activity on it. So essentially, they've brought out these new, well, companies have brought out this new tool where it essentially creates human activity for you. So instead of you running YouTube videos for 12 hours a day on your Gmails, you can enter your Gmails into a bot. The bot generates activity, and that way you can literally just make sure all your Gmails look more human. Now I will link AYCD down below, just because of the fact that I use it. I'm using it currently as well to generate activity for my Gmails. If I do run into any problems with the bot, I'll obviously let you guys know, and if I do find something better, I'll let you guys know as well. That is to create human activity on your Gmails, which basically is very essential for the drops, because let's say you're running for a drop and it goes to the capture screen, does the capture, and it's not a one click, you will severely slow down the time of you checking out, which inevitably could lead to you not getting the product because it goes that far. The second thing I mentioned was talking about proxies. Now proxies to beginning botter looks quite complicated. When I started botting, I was like, oh my god, I don't want to touch proxies, I don't know what they are, I don't want to go near them. However, proxies are pretty useful and becoming more relevant these days. So I'm going to explain what proxies are, the idea behind proxies, what you need for certain sites. So proxies is, one proxy is an IP. Now essentially, right now at your computer or your phone or your tablet, you're running on an IP, and that is basically kind of where you live based on your internet connection. There's a couple of factors to it. And essentially, let's say you access a site like Adidas and you have your mum, your dad, your sister, and you accessing the site will see that there's 4 people with the same IP accessing the site. Now ideally, if you're running like 60 tasks and you're all going for the same site, it's not going to work, because essentially they will see the same IP and they will recognize that you're using a bot, because you won't get 60 people in one location running for a certain item or going on a site. So essentially the bypass to that is by running proxies. Now let's say for Adidas you'd run residential proxies, meaning that the proxies are within your region. So let's say you're in the UK, you'd buy resi proxies for the UK, and that gives you a UK IP. So once you put your proxies into your bot that you've bought with the capital on the side, essentially what that does is each task is given an IP. Now, not necessarily all your tasks have to run proxies. For Adidas, you can have like 7 to 10. I keep 7 to 9 tasks without any proxies, just because they know people do stack up phones and go to the site. But proxies basically binds an IP to each task. So when you send the task to the website, you are fine. So you can run as many tasks as you have proxies. Now that we've explained the kind of fundamentals of like a normal drop, we're going to go ahead and talk about the risks of botting. Now the risk of botting, quite high. You can lose a lot of money doing it. Just because of the fact that there's a lot of things that you have to rely on. Now, one of those things are being keywords. Now, keywords are commonly provided by cook groups. So, we're going to talk about cook groups. Cook groups is a very iffy subject just because of the fact that this market is very saturated. There's a lot of cook groups out there. I personally work for Ping. If I didn't think it was a good cook group, I would not work for it. That is very simple. I run its YouTube channel. You guys can check that out down below. So, I will actually link Ping's Twitter down below. This isn't a paid promotion, I'm literally just saying my opinion. But obviously a cook group is essentially a group on Discord, which is an app that provides information to you guys, and essentially what that information will be is drop times, free slots, monitors to monitor certain sites, so you can use your bots to get those items and stuff like that. But to like go into more detail, those groups provide information for you that you can use to plan how you're going to get the item. So let's say, I don't know, there's an off-white shoe coming out and you have a bot for it, you have the money for it to get a couple of pairs, you have your proxies, you have your Gmails ready, you are ready, and it says, well, there's 7 drops, 1 at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so let's say you're not home from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, but you're home from 4 to 7. Obviously, you would not be able to go for the 1 to 3 o'clock drops. Now, let's say you weren't in a cook group, you would not know the times unless someone told you. You would not know the size you're dropping on unless someone told you, and you would not know the device per drop if you're new. Because if you're new, you don't know any of these things, and you commonly need advice from people that have actually been doing it just to make it easier for you. My personal opinion, I heavily suggest that you should be in a cook group when you first start off, just so you understand the fundamentals. If you like being in an atmosphere, by all means stay ahead. I know I'm in some cook groups just because I like talking to people in them. I don't necessarily need them. Some people are in cook groups because they do everything themselves. That is absolutely fine. It's just how you learn about botting. And personally, I'd say it's easier if you're just in a cook group from the beginning, just so you understand what's going on. We talk about cook groups, we're talking about bots, we talk about capital, and one thing I need to touch upon is essentially the win to loss ratio when you're botting. Now, most commonly people do take more L's than W's. That's just how it is, because there's thousands of people running from with bots, and you're bound to take more L's than W's at the moment when you first start. But obviously, maybe sometimes you can balance that ratio to get more wins than losses. But one thing you have to bear in mind, it's a game, it's nothing's confirmed. A bot, by definition, is to increase your chances. It isn't guaranteed to give you the item. So when you're buying a bot, you need to be very wise about what money you're investing into what company. Obviously, if it's a brand new spank new bot with like 800 followers, you're not meant to invest money in there unless it's in beta. just because of the fact that obviously it's a very small. But if you're willing to spend money on something like Cyber that has a reputable image, then obviously you're bound to get your money value. Obviously the bot is quite expensive, but that's just how it is. You want to invest in bots with a good image and a good future. Obviously bringing out new features is a good idea. The owners being active is a good sign that the bot is going to good places. The final thing I want to give you guys in terms of advice, the last couple of tips, is I would document what happens during the job. I would go through your error logs. I would find out what went wrong, because commonly even people like me that I know make common mistakes. Even after I've been botting for like 1 year, I would like to say, and obviously I've took loads of L's, I took loads of W's, but I still make common mistakes. Like for example, on the Black Yeezy 350 drop, I was doing my exam still then, but I'll tell you guys what happened. Essentially what happened was, during my account creation to make accounts for Adidas, I missed out one of the special characters just to generate a password. That's why my carting wasn't working. It was a simple honest mistake, and I didn't realize it, and I was in the rush and I didn't realize it, and that caused me not to cop. So I obviously took an L on that. But that's one of the things that you need to bear in mind when you're doing bot. You write everything down. My opinion, I would get like a notepad and essentially learn what you need for each site and learn what you need for each sector, so like Adidas, Supreme, Shopify, and write down what you need. And every time there's a drop on one of those sectors, you would go through the list and be like, okay, I've got my proxies, I've got the bot set up, I've got the server set up, stuff like that, just so you tick all the boxes so you have the best chance. I think I've talked about everything I need to talk about in today's video. Obviously I haven't gone into huge detail about each site, just because of the fact that it is a very huge topic. I could be sat here for an hour and I still would have been done. So I may in the future delve into each site individually and see what I can do. Maybe I might make an Adidas video and a Supreme video and a Shopify video, just so I can advise you guys on what exactly to do to have the best success. If you guys have any questions, by all means let me know in the comments down below. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask me personally, my Discord is down below and my Twitter is down below, so you can go ahead and DM me anytime and I'll try my best to respond and give you guys an answer that satisfies your question. But I think that ends today's video. If you guys did enjoy and it was informative, please drop a like. I'm gonna catch you guys next time. Peace out.